Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend. I'm Jason Godbey, back with some more of our Tribeca Film Festival coverage. We got a couple of great interviews coming up for you, but first, here's a quick word from our sponsor.
No Rest for the Weekend's coverage of the Tribeca Film Festival is sponsored by Black Magic Design, the world's highest quality products for the feature film, post and broadcast industries. blackmagicdesign.com.
1-800 On Her Own is the new documentary profiling legendary recording artist Ani DiFranco. Eric McClanahan has the interview with director Dana Flor.
Hi, Dana. How are you?
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for joining us today. We're talking about the film 1-800 On Her Own about the inimitable Ani DiFranco. How did you come to this project?
So I had a chance to meet Ani. She was playing in New York in Woodstock, and I hung out with her before she played a concert. And we just immediately hit it off. I had such an affinity for her. She's funny and foul-mouthed, tiny and badass. And then I saw her concert and, she totally slayed it. Here she is, a woman in her 50s, and she's a total rock star. And then I had the opportunity to wade into the audience and talk to the fans. And I was really struck by how they were fans like none other. I mean, so many people, and of course, over the course of making this film, have told me the same thing, that Ani has changed like the trajectory of their lives and turned them into activists and saved them from feeling very isolated after abortions and rapes and other issues that women were going through, and just had a huge empowering effect on people and creating community that no other musician I had ever known have. And I was really struck by that. So anyways, she's a great character. She's her backstory was fascinating. Her impact is amazing. And her story is so timely. And the message that she has at this time is really critical. So I it was didn't have to really think long and hard about doing it. It's great. It was obviously a great story.
Looking over some of your other films, you have chronicled some very socially conscious and impactful people, sometimes controversial people. How do you feel Ani ranks among some of your other subject matters in terms of her lasting geopolitical footprint?
Ani's story is just really critical right now in terms of her message, the trailblazing that she's done on so many different levels. I really focused on her work as a feminist, is kind of the North Star for her as a person, as an activist and an artist. She's done a lot of different things with, environmental, human rights, criminal justice, but I wanted to focus on that. We're at a really critical time right now, not just in this country with this upcoming election, but also in the world. I think right now, in terms of women's reproductive freedom, it's really important that activists like Ani and their stories are out there. There's 14 states now, right, where abortion is not available to women. So yeah, I think her message, I think her impact, I think it's a great time for this film to be out there.
Speaking of the timing of the film, it looks like it was shot either during or near the pandemic.
Yeah.
So what was the post-production process like to get it out at such a very important point in time, that the one we're in right now?
Documentary is real life. And so timing is very rarely things that you have any control over. I think I was really lucky to start filming with Ani right before the pandemic and to have the opportunity to be embedded with her during the pandemic, just because it was a fascinating and challenging time for her. Mm-hmm. If I had been on the road with her post-pandemic or pre-pandemic, it would have been a totally different movie. But I think once again, the struggles that she was going through have a larger impact towards a lot of people, because I think it's very relatable what she was going through. I mean, during COVID, millions of people, millions of women stopped working because they had to, it was that impossible equation that she's wrestling with, that so many people, women in particular, wrestle with, is how do you school your kids full time, and how do you work full time, and how do you be an artist, and all of that, you know what I mean? So that conflict was really interesting to document, and I think it makes she's a very relatable character in that, because she's going through what so many other women were going through at that time. So I think she's very relatable.
I definitely agree with that. I will say, longtime fan, so I was very
Okay.
excited to see this film.
Right.
There's a moment in the movie when she's struggling with a particularly disappointing setback, and the film cuts to her son being a very disruptive force of nature. Was that a narrative choice, or were you just documenting what you saw?
He's just a boy. Do you know what I mean? And she's just a mom. I'm the mother of a boy as well. It's just what boys do. So yeah, that's what happens. That's what it's like to work at home during COVID, when you're trying to do whatever, whether you're a musician or whatever work you're doing. Your son is, smashing boxes. That's what 7-year-olds do, And so, yeah, no, I'm just filming what's going on. In defense of Dante, he, he's not trying to be disruptive. He's just being a 7-year-old,
Gotcha. The title of the film, 1-800 on Her Own, really does hone in on the DIY aspect of how Ani DiFranco has created music, distributed music, connected with her fans. And in this film, we see her venture into collaboration, and there's a really heartbreaking rejection right at the beginning of the third act. You could have called this film anything. Why did you settle on the 1-800 on Your Own?
I think it really represents who Ani is, She's a scrappy mother, and she does things on her own. And whatever barriers in her way, it's not going to stop her. She's going to do it on her own. It is her 1-800 number. You can actually use that number and call it. It has followed her throughout her entire career. And we liked it. We just thought it was really representative of her. And it was unique. We wrestled with different titles, and this is the one that stuck, and I'm happy with it. It's cool. I think, it's who she is. Also, it's cool. How many titles can you dial in 1-800 number? Call it, get some merch,
Right. Perfect cross marketing opportunity there.
Yeah. Talk to Bubba. He's on the other end of the line.
So I was interested that, again, there's a lot of talk of collaboration, sometimes how it works, sometimes how it doesn't. But there wasn't any mention of her work with noted folk poet Utah Phillips. There were parts of her career that I thought I would see illustrated in this that weren't. What were the decisions behind those exclusions?
The film is 78 minutes long, and Ani is in her mid-50s. That's a long life. I could have made, to be perfectly honest, I probably could have made a 5-hour, documentary. There was so many things that I could have put in. And there was all kinds of things that ended up on the editing room floor, and that was just one of them. There were so many. So you just have to make choices as to what goes in, what goes out. You're looking for a strong story arc. You're looking for a certain flow. You're looking, so there's a million choices to be made, and people don't make the cut, Some of them was more painful than others. But yeah, there's a great recording session in New Orleans with Utah, which is beautiful. It was in there. It's not in there now, though. Sorry. Another movie. It's a whole nother movie.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now you've got the B-side already.
Yeah, totally.
So Ani DiFranco came to power in New York City. So what is it like bringing this film to Tribeca, bringing her to Tribeca for its premiere?
It's awesome. It is the perfect place for it. She's also on Broadway right now, so it's super convenient. We're doing this tonight because it's her off night. She had 2 shows yesterday and has a show tomorrow. So I think it's really great. I think it's perfect for her. You know, she's from Buffalo and she lived in the city back in the day. So, you know, it's her haunting grounds, and it feels really appropriate. It feels great. We're really excited to be in Tribeca.
Well, it looks like we are out of time, and I think that's a great spot to end on. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Dana, and best
Thank
of luck
you.
with the premiere.
Thank you so much.
Some Rain Must Fall took home the honors for Best Actress and Best Cinematography at this year's Tribeca Festival. Eric McClanahan has the interview with the film's director, Qui Yang.
Eric McClanahan here with No Rest for the Weekend. I'm joined by director Qui Yang of the film Some Rain Must Fall, which is making its debut here at the 23rd Annual Tribeca Festival here in beautiful New York City. Thank you for joining me today. So this is your first time attending the Tribeca Film Festival in New York City, is that correct? And how has your experience been thus far?
It was wonderful. I've been to New York City a couple of times before, and this is the first time I actually had a feature to invite it to the festival, and it was premiered yesterday, and it was really nice screening and really nice cinema, and I did a really good Q&A with the artist director. Yeah, and I just took my time and I really explored the city, and I really love it. So.
How do you feel audience reception of the film was?
It was nice. I think it was. I mean, it's sort of like an international film, like foreign language filming, a very American film festival, and it was really better than I thought. And everybody was really warm and asked a lot of questions, and yeah, I was happy.
Now, the main character of the film, I don't want to butcher her name.
Tai. Yeah.
Tai spends a lot of the film pushing herself to feel, pushing herself to experience other things and to feel something different in an increasingly claustrophobic life that she's insulated herself in. It's amazing because the film is set in China, and you have sociologically a collectivist attitude towards family, whereas America is very individualist. But Tai, it seems, is rather insulated. You know, she's not connecting with her daughter. She's drifting apart from her parents. Where did that story originate in you as you were writing this?
I think a couple of different places. I think one thing has a lot to do with my own upbringing, the relationship I had with my mother. And I used to have a quite difficult relationship with my mother when I was growing up, because I was like, a rebel. She's my mother. When I was growing up, going to school, you don't really spend too much time with her. You see her during the morning before you go to school, then you come back after school, you have dinner with her, then you go to do homework, and you don't really spend, at least in China, like, you don't get to spend too much time with your family. But then I was having a bad relationship with her, so like sort of almost I hated her in a way, like, it was like really strong feeling. But after high school, I went to study in Australia. Mm-hmm. So I lived in Australia for 5 years, and then after I graduated, I was 25, I think, and I returned to China, and I didn't go to any other big city. I'm from a smaller city called Changzhou, so I didn't go to any other big city like Beijing or Shanghai, as most of my peers do, especially you want to work in film. Right. And I decided early on that I want to do independent film, so I'm able to do it anywhere. So I was like, I'm gonna stay in my hometown, Changzhou. So I went back to live with my parents, but it became a very strange thing. As when I was at 25, I get to spend 24 hours. You're a freelancer, you work at home, and I really do like start spending time with her every day. My dad still works and she doesn't work, so like then I really got to sort of witness or observe what does she do every day, because like as a full-time housewife, nobody knows what do they do every day. It's actually an intense full-time job. It's a lonely full-time job to taking care of other people. So then I start slowly witnessing things, start trying to understand her, and start, she also start open herself to me, telling me secrets in her life or regrets she's made or the problem that she encounters every day. What are the things that is driving her crazy? And so there are a lot of things that I witnessed, I heard, and those things I don't necessarily understand what do they mean, but they are the things that really stay with me. The things happen to her and within my family. And when I was writing this script, I created this kind of the character. I later realized maybe it's sort of modeled, on my mother, from my mother, and then all those things, just when I was writing it, all those things just kind of pouring out to the page. I think that's one of the reasons, and also at the time when I was sort of researching or trying to find inspiration for the film, I was reading a lot Alice Munro, and she writes a lot women, and especially in middle-aged full-time housewife, and she's probably one of the biggest inspiration for this story, but for the character, I suppose. And I mean, she writes, and it's crazy. I mean, she writes stories of women that's from 50s, 60s, like sexual revelation, and at that time, I felt there's sort of similarity of the woman. I mean, Alice Munro explains that the women that she writes is the same. They were taught, get a family, being a wife and being a mother, have a kid. That's all life is about. That's what women should be, doing. And Alice Munro said they actually believed it, but until they had them, they had a husband, they had a child, and they suddenly realized when they're 40 years old, they suddenly realize, oh, life should be more. Life shouldn't just be about this. What you saw in the film is probably Ty's way to trying to escape and trying to, find more meaning of life.
Find another layer to herself other than what she's been told that she is to be.
Yes.
The way you shot the film, there's a lot of, you see things through doorways, you see things around corners. It's very voyeuristic. Could you imagine writing a story like this and allowing someone else to direct it?
Sure, why not? I mean, I'm new director. It's my first film. I would love to try anything. Like if anybody wants to ask me to write a script, and if the idea really interests me, and if it's something I would love to explore, I'm happy to write for other people. Or if I wrote a script and I was like, oh, I'm not gonna do it, but there is a friend director who I believe it's a perfect fit. Why not?
Okay, the correct answer was no, because you masterfully directed this picture.
Okay.
I love it so much. It's getting compared to Parasite in its depictions of class struggles, but I found it more to be about Ty's personal struggles. What is your view on it?
No, I agree with you. I think it's really about her. This is the film. To me, there's. I would say. I don't know if it's too much, but I would say there's actually no story. Not in the traditional sense as a plot.
Right.
So it's not plot-driven drama. To me, it's a character-driven drama. It's all about discovery or witnessing the discovery of herself in a way. So yes, it's about her self-struggling. It's about her self-discovery, as we said, and we are. For me, the perspective of the camera is almost as the audience. We are observing her. We are. You almost felt like we intentionally kept a sort of a distance between the camera and the character, so
right.
It felt like
we still had a visual invasiveness. So,
exactly.
Yeah, we were seeing things we weren't supposed to see.
It's like we're peeping Tom, so we're seeing things. We're seeing the struggle that she's going through in life. So, in a way, we are seeing different sides of her, but never really the full view. But I believe that's real human being in real life. You would never get to understand a human being fully. Right. You just see different sides of a human being. Even friends we known for many years, even our families. Do you actually fully know who your mother is? I wouldn't say yes.
Yeah, we can only assemble the edits we have.
Yes,
I think it's
yes.
A great point to stop on. Unless there's anything else you'd like to share about Some Rain Must Fall or your work.
Yeah, if you have a chance to watch the film, it's not a typical I say typical story. It's a lot of openness to the film, and yeah, it's if you like this type of film, then watch it.
I did. I liked it a lot. So again, no rest for the weekend. Qui Yang for Some Rain Must Fall here at Tribeca. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more of our content, including more film festival coverage, visit our website, norestfortheweekendpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube, youtube.com/getbehindtherabbit. I'd like to thank our guests, Dana Flor and Qui Yang. And a big thanks to our sponsor, Black Magic Design. For Behind the Rabbit Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
This is the BTRP Media Network.